a collection. In the year 2000, I was watching some reality TV trash with a big group of friends in Boston. In my friend's like third or fourth story apartment. She owned a floor, it was pretty cool. Cambridge, Massachusetts. And she had a hot tub and everyone was always over there. Owned the local bookstore. Her apartment was great. It had essentially no furniture in it whatsoever. It was completely minimalist, the opposite of her maximalist bookstore. We'd have meals around mats and things like that. She'd invite customers that were allergic to the bookstore cats to parties there and stuff. Bookstore cat. Anyway, that we were all there and somehow we were watching the show in this hot tub. I guess there was a TV inside of it. But the hot tub was like out on a balcony. Anyway, like Love Island or Temptation Island or something like that. Year 2000, not sure. I was confused about what was going on exactly and I was all, this show needs a theme song to explain what's going on. And it just caught everybody right. Like one of those jokes where it just prompts you to imagine your own funny thing. And I got maybe the biggest laugh of all my time with that friend group. Overall, did not feel like a particularly funny time for me. Like I don't remember making people laugh a lot. Anyway, I was thinking, what if this channel had a theme song? Long story long. It's just a bunch of books in a guy's apartment. It's the collection, yeah. So he just talks about his cat ants. It's the collection, yeah. Something like that. That tune doesn't feel wholly original. I hear the cars creeping in there. Anyway, I need to look at these gosh darn books so that I can get them off the coffee table. Move on with my life. I'll probably have a different pile here soon. It's a lot of books. These are all the like really professional, cool looking treasuries on the bottom shelf. I mean, check these out. And even so, despite their niceness, which would suggest an unwieldiness, which would suggest you're maybe not reading them that much in your life if you own these sorts of things. These I read over and over as a kid. I read those a bunch. These I obsessed over for years and read everything in. I read both of these. The setting in Heidi later became my like favorite fictional setting that I yearned to live myself. I just want to live in a hut in the Alps and make cheese. Be a part of a loving community. What? Heidi's like a beautiful book. Call of the Wild I've never obsessed over. I guess it really obsessed Chris McCandless of Into the Wild. R.I.P. Lindsay. R.I.P. Chris, of course. Yeah, what a beautiful edition. What is this series called? Grosset and Dunlap? Well, they ain't phoning it in. That's pretty. Full color illustrations. You'd think I was a Call of the Wild Jack London superfan for owning this, but I'm just an aesthetic freak in love with the superficial surface of everything. Skiing atop realities. Version of Heidi is also beautiful, and I think this is the one I had when I was a kid because I remember reading this a couple of times, and I read it to my children. It's actually a good story. I mean, it's kind of Christian-y, but it's a beautiful tale of redemption and love and family, like Anne of Green Gables, that sort of a thing. The relationship between Heidi and her grandfather, it's really like profoundly beautiful. It's like he's this crusty old guy shut up in the mountains. I remember this book very fondly. You know, I think kids, despite it being the lead-poisoned 80s, you know, I think people used to just like have they used to just enjoy things of all sorts. Boys would read Heidi and Island of the Blue Dolphins. Girls would read whatever, you know. Beautiful edition, wow. Gilt edges. Wow. Hashtag writer goals have something adapted into such a beautiful work. Silverstein. My kids didn't really take to Shel Silverstein so much when they were growing up. I remember I read The Giving Tree to my daughter Anodyne, and she was like, "That's the worst book I've ever heard." Bookstore, and it made her cry. I'm like, "Are you sure you want me to read this one?" Poems for younger readers that rhyme with pictures. What a specific thing. This is the guy who wrote. I had no idea this had an inscription in it from my mom in 1987, Valentine's Day. February 14th, 1987, Valentine's Day. Oh, memory unlocked. To Mikey, my reader, I hope you will someday read these books of fun to your own children. I actually did. That's crazy. None of my kids has loved to read more than you, even Leanne. Amazing. I'm so proud of you and hope you enjoy these Silverstein books as much as I enjoy you, Sunshine. I love you, Mom. Oh, what a nice person. Yeah. It's kind of weird. My growing up is so entwined with Mormonism and stuff that I've since rejected pretty vocally. But I think my parents are pretty great overall. And like interesting, kind people, you know. Oh, she wrote in this one too. Valentine's Day, 1987, at the cabin. To my Mickle, I love to listen to you while you read these poems to me. You make them so much fun. I like the expressions and tone of voice that make me feel like the poems are alive. I can't believe you're only in the first grade and can read these so fast that I can hardly keep up. I think you are an IK. Incredible kid. I love you, Mom. Well, dang, that's nice. That's like a compliment to me from my mom from beyond the grave, because I totally... Oh, that's... Dang. No, you're crying. Silverstein's fun. He's irreverent. And the guy used to write for like Playboy magazine. He has a whole book of like really sexual poems in this same style for adults. I guess he's got another one, but these are these books in this series called, I forget, Falling Up it's called. And these were the two that marked my childhood. I remember my 5th grade talent show reciting some of these poems that I had memorized. That's, I guess, what I was like as a 5th grader. Which is funny to think about now, because my daughter Willow's not much older than that. All right. Well, this one could go with the picture books, really, but its sturdy binding has placed it on the shelf it's on. Richard Scarry, best storybook ever. Maybe this should be with the picture books in the closet. But these are classic, you know, the drawings are so appealing to the youth, and they're pretty wholesome. I had one in German that helped me learn German. It was like a Richard Scarry's German dictionary. Some of them really caught my young mind. When I was really little, like, I remember loving this story. Oh, and I love the rabbit. To me, this was like such a huge, epic story. I just thought about this world of this rabbit sleeping in this hollow tree and experiencing the seasons. And, you know, it felt so much bigger than just this little... It's crazy to think about your childhood. Well, this one might be put into the closet, even though... Because there really aren't many picture books here. I don't know. I looked at this yesterday, but I thought it was more appropriately to be looked at in this. This book traces back to when I worked at UNM Bookstore, and we had like a 12-hour lockdown in there one time right when I was getting off of work because an active shooter was thought to be on campus. So I just stayed, I don't know, maybe, how could it have been 12 hours? It was so long. I was like ready to go home, and I didn't get home till way after dark. But anyway, you can't lock me in a bookstore. That did not go well. I basically spent everything that I would make during the rest of the time there. It's like, well, I'll just get these. It's on student credit, right? But this is a beautiful, wow. Hot dang. Well, look at that right there. That's just what you call a beautiful book. Just had the very surreal experience today of skimming through every hour of what is a 30-hour, I realize now is a 30-hour and 50-minute recording of my life from the last couple days. I'm going to get a very interesting essay out of transcribing it, I think. A mix of transcription and description. Because why would I transcribe someone's whole podcast? I mean, that would just be an ordeal and an interesting conceptual execution, but I'm like, this is really a gift to me because I couldn't have planned it. A truly it's like I had an invisible eye watching me, but it was an ear listening to me and recording everything perfectly without my awareness. Except at the very beginning, I had recorded this little fragment of a song that I thought, that's catchy. And then I apparently left it on. But that's amazing that a recording app can record that much audio. That's insane. Anyway, I love Oz. Grew up in Oz. Have I outgrown Oz? I mean, I don't think about it all that much, but it was a big part of the landscape of childhood for me. And then again, as a parent, reading the whole series to my kids. I love what Anodyne said about Wicked. That's not my Oz. Yeah, Wicked is like its own thing. Gregory Maguire was just a big fan of the movie. Really only read I don't know. I don't get the sense that he really knew the books well. Anyway. Yeah. I might have read this because I love the idea of annotations, but it's also quite hefty, so I don't know. I think I've certainly leafed through it a lot. Definitely read The Wizard of Oz many times. Probably one of the fanciest, nicest, bought new books I own. Well, $39.95 back then. It's probably like $70 with today's inflation. Price gouging, etc. Now, there's some really great movies adapted from Andersen's stories, and they're okay. They're interesting, but I just don't love them like I love Grimm's fairy tales. To me, Grimm's fairy tales are real fairy tales. They got most of them from real people, and Andersen, I just don't get that sense. It's like, this is some stories a guy made up, and that's cool, but it doesn't have that same group-written, hive mind, archetype-seeking thing going on for me personally. I think Frozen is a really great kids movie. It's based on the Snow Queen by him. Little Mermaid, sure, they turned that into a great story. But in the original Little Mermaid, she ends up damned forever and walks on knife blades every step she takes. For her sins. Little Match Girl, that's a depressing, moralizing slog. And the original version of the Snow Queen is a bit like that too. You know, when you get a beautiful edition like this, and you know, if you like fairy tales and stuff, you have to begrudgingly accept Andersen. In fact, when did we already look at that really nice old antique one that's kind of in bad shape? Oh, there it is. It's all tooped up, but that's pretty old. Cuteness extreme. It's really funny that you're lying there, squirrel. You're hilarious. Rearrange this section. I think it looks much nicer. I said before, this collection is my giant apartment-filling bonsai tree that I will cultivate until it reaches some state of packed maximalist perfection that I'm happy with. Well, this is a beautiful looking edition. Hans Christian Andersen, whatever, man. Here's one I think I've had for a long time. Fairy Tales from Many Lands. I remember reading this as a kid. Must have. Oh, this was my younger sibling's book. Jess, you can have this back. Jeffrey is now Jess, and has transitioned. But this is, wow. Jess, you want this book? I'll put it with your box that I have in my closet here, and your walking stick that I have leaning in a corner. I'm gonna pass this on to my sibling because it's from our mom who has died. So this would probably have some value to Jess. I think a road trip is in order once I get my car working better. Throw it that way back in the closet because the box of Jess's stuff is way down there. This, though, I know is mine because this traces back to something significant. You know I go off a lot about like personal and family stuff during some of these videos, but maybe they could just underline a general takeaway that when you have a book collection that is alive and a part of your life, you know, it's not disconnected. You can't just be intellectual, you know. It's your emotions will always, and life events will always be bound up in it all. This is from my then brother-in-law. My sister Leanne and Philip White, the poet, got married in 1989. And I was living in Vienna, Austria at the time with my parents and younger sibling. There's the mission home in Austria. My dad had been like appointed there as this mission president for all the missionaries of Austria and couldn't just easily get away even when his kids got married, which kept happening. When my brother Rob and his wife Krista got married, my mom took my little brother, back to America to go to that. They just flew. When my sister Leanne and Phil got married, my mom took me. We ate at a Cracker Barrel in Georgia and went to the Statue of Liberty and got a cool bronze Statue of Liberty figurine, and went to the Dover Books Warehouse in Dover and bought all the Color Fairy books I didn't have. Not all, but all the ones they had. And then I got the rest later. We went to Leanne and Phil's wedding, and Leanne would later always joke and tell that she thought it was hilarious that in the background of all the pictures, I was reading a book leaning against a wall in the background. This nerdy little kid. Sure do love reading. To Mikey, thanks for being in our wedding line, especially for wearing a tux. Next time we'll make you wear white gloves and pants with half the legs cut off, just like on the mannequin. Hope you like this book. My dad used to read it when I was your age or so. My favorite story was Rikki Tikki Tavi. That is the best one. Love, Philip. July 7th, 1999. Man, I tried to read the Just So stories to my kids when they were little, and I was like, I'm not enjoying this. They got an audiobook version, and I'm like, this is the most annoying thing I've ever heard. The elephant stretching his nose. Maybe I was hungry that day. But Rudyard Kipling, of course, is regarded as this very colonial British author. I don't have any of his stuff in the paperback project, which I suppose I could. I see him around, like books like Captain Courageous. And The Jungle Book is a cool, interesting story. There's the stuff of legend to it. But they're a beautiful edition. Personal connection, and look at it. Gotta keep stuff like that. Will I be reading The Jungle Book anytime soon? No, but if I ever do, well, there it is. Always surprising to me how my books come in handy at different times. See a book mentioned in a movie, I'll be like, I own that. I was really bothered I just watched the movie Field of Dreams recently, and I watched all the director commentaries afterward and realized it was based on a book, etc. And I was like, I have that book. But it didn't survive the purge. I had gotten rid of it. Dang it. This is a great anthology series. I read and reread this many times as a kid. I would skip around to my favorite ones also, but I read it all multiple times. The World Treasury of Children's Literature. That's good. I'm happy that I grew up with this. I think between this and all the fairy tale and folk tales, I got some kind of a well-rounded education of available children's literature in English growing up, and a couple of really aware older siblings, especially my sister Leanne. In Austria, I ran a little money lending business when I was little because people always needed money, and I just had whatever cash I had saved. And I saved up doing that just by charging some interest. Saved up like $200 or $300, which was a lot in the 80s. When I came back, that's another thing from that trip. Came back to America with my mom and hung out with my sister during this time, 1989, months away from being in Berlin when the wall fell. That's so crazy. Me. We went to all these bookstores, like the mall bookstores, like Walden Books and not Sam Goody's, what was the other one? B. Dalton. And she really helped guide me and add to my list. I had this folded up piece of paper with all the books I wanted that I had written down from other books I'd enjoyed, like also by this author. And that's when I learned about the Tripod trilogy, and she's like, you gotta get these, you'll love these. And those became like my favorites. Yeah, that was kind of a pivotal book buying spree of my youth. I mean, I had saved up for it for so long, and English language books were in somewhat short supply in Austria. I really thought they were like precious. Like when we go back to the American International School and check out books from that library, or go to the British bookstore, it was always very exciting. Book one. Stuff like this used to just be more common for kids. Like I used to have the whole Childcraft encyclopedia set, and an Encyclopedia Britannica, and just things that were like around, This is a pretty cool series of a book. I do remember as a kid liking most of the ones that were more illustrated. I know there's one in one of these illustrated. Oh, that was the one. Illustrated by Quentin Blake. A new thing for Captain Najork. I still remember some poems from one of these. Like there's this one, The Fog Comes on Little Cat Feet. This one, the third one. I got this one later, but I still read it a bunch. Look at that. Leanne Smith on loan to Mom, Mike, and Jeffy. Now Leanne's dead. My mom is dead. And Jeffy is now Jesse, I guess. I mean, Jeff is now Jess. Well, still felt that twinge of, I should return this. Guess it never got returned. I bet it's because it's the third volume. She knew we had the first two. She maintained an interest in children's literature into adulthood, I know that. And had a small collection of some. Visiting them in Kentucky before she died was so amazing. She and her husband were teaching at Center College where the vice presidential debates happened. The house just had so many DVDs and books in it. It was amazing. I guess I'm catching up. But they had a ton of DVDs. They had like a whole wall of a big room that was DVDs and VHSs. And a huge CD and record collection. Oh no, they were like the media kings. They were my old collection plus. They were like two of my old collections put together because they were both so passionate about art and music and interesting stuff. I really do feel like, man, so many things in my life trace back to just one or two big events that kind of messed up everything in many ways. My sister's death, she took her own life, was really one of them. Her death led directly to my mom's death, and my whole family just scattered when she died. I feel like the world just sometimes you just stumble over a starting line or something. Oh, great. But another is that I had a stroke when I was a teenager. I'm like, how much of the nonsense of my life traces back to these one or two things? Just as a mountain stream has many streams contributing from it, so life's narrative has many traumas. It reminds me of a nonfiction joke I wrote a long time ago that I used as part of my essay chapter, Notes from a Slowly Dying Suburbanite. All I was doing was explaining how the smoke detector worked. Restart. All I was doing was explaining how the smoke detectors worked. Suddenly all my kids were crying. That's how I feel now. All I'm doing is looking at books from my collection, from my childhood. Anyway, go see my kids in a minute. I just broadened the paperback project's expanse with a little bit sci-fi, etc. And I'm like, should I bring the man in the high castle over there? Philip K. Dick deserves to be there as much as Kurt Vonnegut. Orwell gets a dystopian entry. We're in 1984. Philip K. Dick, you're going here too. Alright, I need to go get something to eat. Thanks for watching, anyone that's watching. This channel does have a PayPal if anyone's ever like, what could I do? I don't even check it anymore because it's not used very often, ever. Okay, it's been used once. And another time when I sold some stuff. At Michael Farrell Smith. Go to PayPal. But whatever. Again, this is a strange experiment too, you know. Right, so rearrange that book in there when I look at these. Restored. Restored and thematically improved. A book that wasn't mine was removed. A book that belonged in picture books was removed. Books were moved down. It's all good. Yeah. Say next let's look at the kids' books, but I'm like, let's take a break and do something different. Let's look at New Mexico books. It'll get me back in that mindset for some articles I need to write. The numbers are way down on the channel, so I need to just not worry about that stuff. 550, I guess that's cool. I'm almost to 555, the fake TV telephone number. I see these ones, so I want them to be as sightly as possible, so yeah, let's look at them next. And again, I would say to people, if you're not into the particular topic of New Mexico, think about William Blake talking about seeing eternity and infinity in a grain of sand or whatever, you know? Anything can be a microcosm of everything, you know? As Nietzsche said, when the intelligent person learns something new, it immediately takes its place as a link in a chain. It's one piece of the big world. Take care, everybody. May the odds be ever in your favor.